Morning, everybody. Actually, it's like 1 in the morning here. It's March 23rd, 2019, as I'm recording this. I really want to go to bed, but I don't feel I can until I actually release this. So, I'm doing a video, and I'm trying not to hold my phone. So, got it on like a tray thing for mail. Sometimes you just gotta make it work. I have this word in me about how the church has forgotten how to be faithful in little things. What do I mean? Let me explain. We're so often looking for the oak tree when in fact we should be looking at the acorn God has given us. Sometimes God will give us a seed. It's our job to be faithful in nurturing that seed, being a good steward over that seed, nurturing it and growing it so that it can grow into the oak tree. But far too many people are looking at the acorn, saying, well, I want my oak tree and I want it now. And they're not stewarding that. Bamboo. You plant it in the ground, hardly does anything for year 1, 2, 3, and 4. Year 5, bam! Suddenly, explosive growth. You don't stop being a steward of the bamboo just because it doesn't do anything for the first couple of years. Because you know it's going to come. That's how the dinar is. It looks like it's just been nothing. Suddenly, something. We're all waiting for the suddenly something. But we need to be good stewards of these things in the meantime. And I'm not just talking about dinar, okay? I feel like we've lost... we have forgotten how to be stewards of the little things. Being faithful in the little things. Seeing a cloud the size of a man's hand and getting excited because we know that breakthrough is upon us. I'm going to give you an example. Abortion, for a lot of people, is a really big deal, okay? And I don't want to see abortion anymore. Like, us slaughtering babies is not okay and it's not acceptable. That's part of what's bringing all the problems. Is not the sole reason, it's not the sole thing. But you can't tell me that God is sitting there cheering us on, slaughtering babies. No, it needs to stop. But let's say, for example, in a state, they stop late-term abortions. They didn't have anything before, and they passed legislation where it's like, okay, we're stopping late-term abortions. Christians get angry and are like, well, that's not good enough because we want them banned outright, ignoring that there's actually been progress. Some of this stuff and some of the ground that we need to take back and reclaim, we are going to have to do a step at a time. It's not going to be like instantaneously, abortion is just eradicated worldwide. It's not going to happen like that. I would like that too. There's a lot of things I would like to see happen just, can't snap, instantaneously. That's not always how it's going to go. When the Israelites were walking around Jericho, they had to walk around the city 7 times and nothing happened until the 7th day, when they had walked around it 7 times and then blew their horns. There was a lot of time they put in where nothing happened. I think we need to celebrate the small victories, and we need to recognize when we're praying for oak trees and God is giving us acorns. We need to stop ignoring these small things, the small steps, the Mueller report going out. It's showing Trump didn't have any collusion with Russia. And most people are sitting here upset saying, okay, well, why aren't all of these people in jail? We need to celebrate that a small victory has been won. We need to give thanks for that, and then we need to continue to press on. We need to be diligent. We need to be consistent. We need to continue to press on. I can't go to the gym, work out one day, and wonder why I'm not shredded. Well, yeah, because you went to the gym one day. There was hundreds before that where you didn't. You ate like crap. But you expect to be fully in shape. Doesn't happen that way. The church has forgotten that some of this stuff needs to be taken step by step. You've had these other various groups out there who have taken over influence by taking small steps over 20 years. And they've been creeping up. And after 20 years, they've made a lot of progress because they keep making little steps. I want victory too. Okay, I want to see righteousness. I want to see righteous people ruling. I want to see breakthrough in so many of these things, but we're not getting the breakthrough because we're not being faithful in the little things. The Bible specifically says, he who is faithful in little will be faithful with much. If you're not faithful with these little things, you're not going to be faithful with the big things. That's why God is not giving us the big things yet, because we haven't shown that we will be faithful with the little things. I feel God's going to give me influence in all kinds of places. But if I'm not diligent to make videos when God's telling me to and putting them out here, why is God going to give me influence on a bigger scale when I haven't been diligent with the smaller scale? Something we actually really seriously need to think about. I have a lot of people asking me if I've got any new information at all about the dinar. Nothing. There are a couple sources that I believe I would hear from either when something, the couple that I would definitely hear from if this happens, not if, when, but if it suddenly happened, I would hear from these sources. There are others, if certain things began to transpire that would that were leading towards an RV, I would hear something. I haven't heard anything from these ones in quite a while. So God gave me a little word, as most of you guys know, about Iran and how Iran's nuclear sites were going to be hit, and it was going to open up this season of just incredible things for Iran. My heart is not against Iran. My heart is not against people in the Middle East either. I see that God has a plan and that he desires good things for these countries as well. Right? God loves everybody. He doesn't love the evil. He doesn't love the wickedness or unrighteousness, but he still loves the people. So I want to see the best for Iran. Really do. God hasn't given me anything else. I'm standing on the word. I'm standing on the word that he. I'm standing on the word that he did give me, and I'm stewarding that. I had a revelation the other day, and I know some of you aren't going to like this, but I don't have a man-pleasing spirit anymore, so I really don't care. I was at a conference with Bill Johnson and Randy Clark. That's actually where the thing about the Acorn kept coming up this weekend. And they were talking about, and a guy named William Wood, who's no clue who he was before. Definitely know who he is now. Fantastic preacher. Really awesome guy. God definitely moves through this guy. And last night he was preaching. I actually had a really cool encounter on this Saturday, which is changed a lot in me. I'm still processing what happened, and maybe at some point I'll talk about that. But anyways, They were talking about Zechariah and how an angel had come to him, told him John the Baptist was going to be born, told him all these things that John the Baptist was going to do, and Zechariah was totally full of doubt and unbelief. So the angel actually physically made it so Zechariah could not talk. I forget if it was until the baby was conceived or until the baby was actually born, but either way, he couldn't talk for quite a long time. I think it was actually until after the child was born. So that's at least 9 months where Zechariah just couldn't talk. And it was just a reminder of like our faith and belief in things actually has an effect on the promises we're given. So many people get prophetic words and they don't steward them at all. They just speak doubt and unbelief, and then they're not sure why they don't come to pass. And I wondered for a long time, like in my dream, why I was the pilot in my dream. For those of you who don't know, 2013, I had a dream in which I was sitting in the pilot seat of an Airbus A380. Long story short, I saw President Trump becoming president of the United States, and some really cool stuff happening. And the airplane represented the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. The A380, 380 represented the third month, and the 80th day after Trump was in office. When that happened, Trump met with the Iraqi prime minister on that exact day. Not a coincidence. Although I had hoped that the RV was actually going to happen that day. I misunderstood. I realized there's not a lot of us who have never doubted about the RV. I never have. I remember the feeling in my spirit. I still remember the day that I heard about this. I remember where I was. I remember what I was doing. I remember the feeling I had in my spirit. My spirit leapt when I heard about this. I just knew there was life on this. No doubt in my mind. So God will entrust things to people who won't be moved by doubt or unbelief. No matter, Iraq could come out tomorrow and say we're definitely never ever going to RV. We're gonna, whatever. Like nothing anyone says or does could possibly shake my faith that this is gonna happen. Like none of these things move me at all. I am immovable when it comes to the RV and whether or not it's going to happen. I just believe it will. No doubt in me. There are others of you who are in the same boat. So I realized that the people on the plane are people who have no doubt about the RV happening and actually believe for it to happen. There was an atmosphere of faith on the airplane. People were united. They were definitely in unity. And I realized that I was the pilot because God was going to give me prophetic insight into the dinar happening, mostly because I don't have doubt. Well, I have a prophetic call. I know that. And I'm not scared to say things that sound really crazy. I don't care if people think I'm crazy. It doesn't faze me. Because a lot of things that God wants to do or pour out or anything along those lines, it sounds crazy initially until it happens. I've seen that. I've experienced that. Over the last 5 years, there are so many prophetic words that I've gotten for like nations or other people, and I've given them and they sound crazy in the moment. And then like 4 years later, I'll get a phone call and I'll be like, hey, do you remember that word? And I'll be like, no, actually I don't. Remind me. Okay, well, you said this was going to happen. And that actually just happened. I had a lady I was working with. I had prophesied over her a number of things that were going to happen. And she messaged me today and was like, hey, so these things that you said were going to happen, they all came to pass. And it just doesn't surprise me anymore because I know what I'm hearing and I know who I'm hearing it from. So, in a sense, God has like given authority and stewardship of the RV to those of us who are believing. And I was sitting in the captain's chair of the airplane because I'm getting the prophetic insight into what we need to be praying into and releasing that. And if I get something else, I'm going to tell you guys so we can pray and contend and be united and stand together. That's part of my job in this. And I need you guys to help me, to pull with me and stand with me for that. So I'm not looking to be the most important guy in the room. I'm not looking to elevate myself. I want God to put me in the positions that He wants me to. I'm trying to be humble. I'm not looking to exalt myself. Okay, this isn't about me. This is just a revelation that like there were hundreds of people on this airplane, and we were all pulling together. We were all united. We all had no doubt. So we need to continue to do that for the sake of the rest of the people out there. I get why some people have doubts or unbelief and all that. I get that. I'm just not one of those people. And I know there's lots of people watching this. You don't have doubt either. It's part of why I resonate with you guys. So we really need to be faithful, diligent. Somebody was asking the other day about my plan to cash out. I'm in Canada, for those of you who don't know. There's a chance that I'm cashing out in Canada and in the US. A long story there. But I intend to cash out at a bank. In Canada, there was a friend of mine, and I should state I'm not a financial expert. This is not financial advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts. Canada, I intend to cash out probably with RBC. Would be my initial hunch would be to cash out there, and in the U.S. Probably Wells Fargo, I would think, but I do think there will be a lot of good options. But I think people really need to pray about that and see. And the other thing I wanted to talk about really quick was the revelation that came from this weekend. Was that this verse that talks about God giving seed to the sower, not the saver, the sower. Too many of us have been trying to save and just out of fear, like save, and we're not giving, we're not sowing, we're not being generous, we're not helping people, we're not giving to the poor, we're not doing these things. And I really feel like, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but I don't think God's mentality on money is save it for a rainy day. There are times and seasons for that. Joseph was called to save food and to get Egypt through a famine and to help other nations through that. There are times and seasons for that. But this verse in particular says that God gives seed to the sower and bread for food to supply and multiply. We need to be aware of that. If you're not giving, do it. It's biblical. If you're not able to give, there's something in your heart that needs to be dealt with, because it unlocks stuff. And we shouldn't be giving because we feel like we have to. If you feel like you have to give or sow or do something, don't do it. Do it when your heart is right. If your heart isn't right, ask God to make it right. I think that's all I have right now. I don't know how this video is 19 minutes already. It doesn't feel like it's that long. But anyways, you can follow me on Twitter. I share quite a few of my thoughts. I was going to mention this too. We had a guy named Mike Danforth came to our church some time ago, and he was talking about a political shaking that was going to take place in Canada. And as soon as I heard this, I had this feeling in my spirit that our Prime Minister, who's Mr. Trudeau, was going to have to resign before the elections take place. There's been a lot of shaking in that. And we can sit here and gripe and complain that nothing's happening, it's not happening fast enough. We just need to continue to pray. There's things that are being exposed. We need to see that as the acorn, just like the Mueller report, not having any evidence of collusion. We need to look at the acorns. Hear me on this. We need to look at the acorns and we need to be thankful for them, and we need to see what God is doing and get aligned with his heart and ask what his will is and what his heart is for the nations. This is important. There are nations to be won for Jesus' inheritance, and the dinar is going to play a big factor in that. I don't think you want to go stand before God, having had the dinar, saying you didn't do anything with it for kingdom. There's kingdom work that's going to need to be done. Just something to think about. You can follow me on Twitter, footforward26. If you repost this link, please make a link available for people to go back to my YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel, because sometimes my videos don't get posted in other places, and sometimes they're not all dinar related, and so they don't always get posted on dinar sites and stuff. So please feel free to share this video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Bless you guys. I will see you next time.